Hey there, Lions fans. Are you ready to feel the electricity in the air as we gear up for what could be a dramatic turning point in Detroit's season? Smash that like button if you feel Detroit's roar building, because the tension is palpable. With the 2025 season looming, we find ourselves in uncharted territory, where the stakes have never been higher and uncertainty looms like a storm cloud over Ford Field. How can General Manager Brad Holmes confidently navigate a roster filled with needs, particularly at edge rusher? Is he truly satisfied with his current lineup, or is there something brewing behind the scenes that could shake up the foundation of this team? As fans, we've been conditioned to ask the tough questions. Are we really prepared to compete in the NFC North, especially when our rivals are scrambling to bolster their defenses? The clock is ticking towards the trade deadline, and the whispers around the league suggest that big changes might just be on the horizon. With the departure of Zadarius Smith, has the pressure been placed too heavily on Hayden Hutchinson? Sure. We've got Marcus Davenport back and a promising rookie in Ahmed Hassanein, but can we really trust that mix to hold up against the formidable offensive lines we'll be facing? It's a nerve-wracking proposition, and as much as Holmes claims to feel good about the situation, the fans are understandably restless. Hayden Hutchinson is undoubtedly a star, but his potential for taking a step back combined with Davenport's injury history creates a precarious foundation. So, what's the answer for this Lions team that hungers for more? Cue the speculation. Recent analysis has put the name Kayvon Thibodeau front and center, the explosive edge rusher from the New York Giants who could come at just the right moment. Could the Giants be looking to offload him in a last-ditch effort to gather draft capital for a complete rebuild? Imagine the roar from Lions fans if Thibodeau found his way to Detroit. A former 5th overall pick with a dynamic skill set, Thibodeau's journey has been a roller coaster. After an impressive 11.5 sacks in 2023, injuries hindered his performance the following year, limiting his impact to just 5.5 sacks. Still, one has to wonder, could a fresh start in Detroit allow him to rediscover that edge, to redefine his career? Surrounded by players who mirror the hunger and intensity he possesses. But what if the Giants remain competitive, keeping their prized asset close to the vest? These are the scenarios that keep fans and stakeholders awake at night. The Lions have a pressing need to fortify their defense and stand firm in a hostile an FC North division where cornerstones are built on the backs of fearsome pass rushers. But how do we ignite that spark without the assurance of a trade? Could all this uncertainty cause a crisis of confidence within the organization? Or is Holmes playing a long game, fully aware of the chess pieces in motion as he waits for the perfect moment to strike? With the draft capital to pull off substantial moves, will Holmes be able to close the gap? Or will he ultimately regret not acting sooner? Keep your eyes peeled, Lions fans. The future of our beloved team may hang in the balance. The suspense is mounting, and every whistle from the practice field echoes a thrilling question. Can we trust in Holmes' vision, or will we bear witness to a calamity that shapes the Lions' fate for years to come? As the trade deadline approaches, the mystery thickens, and with every passing day, our hopes and dreams teeter on the edge. The roar of the Lions may soon transform into a thunderous growl, shaking the foundations of the NFL if the right player can be lured to Detroit. The clock is ticking, the stakes are raised, and the city waits with bated breath as each rumor swirls through the Detroit sports airwaves. What will Holmes decide? And are we on the cusp of a monumental shift that could alter not only the trajectory of this season, but also the identity of the franchise? Just imagine what the arrival of a player like Thibodeau could mean for this team. Until then, hold that breath, Lions fans. This is far from over. Feel that electric tremor still pulsing through your chest, Lions faithful, because we're about to crank this suspense into overdrive. With the trade deadline looming like a guillotine over Detroit's defensive dreams, imagine Brad Holmes pacing the war room, phone glued to his ear as he navigates a web of offers from a Giants front office, desperate to stockpile picks. Could Holmes leverage that surplus of day 2 selections to pry loose Kayvon Thibodeau, an edge rusher whose blend of raw power and refined technique once netted him 11.5 sacks in 2023 before nagging hamstring issues limited him to 5.5 last year? Picture the instant chemistry on the practice field. Aiden Hutchinson's relentless motor complemented by Thibodeau's explosive first step, Jalen Danley's veteran-savvy guiding alignment tweaks, and rookie Ahmed Hassanein learning the pro game from two premier talents. The air at Ford Field would crackle like never before as offensive tackles across the league trembled at the thought of fending off that duo wearing Honolulu blue. But every blockbuster move brings risk and whispers in the scouting department. Hint that Thibodeau's bumps may mask deeper concerns about his work ethic. Could Detroit be walking into a minefield for the promise of potential alone? Recall how 2016's high-wire act with Ziggy Ansah delivered flash but also frustration when injuries sidelined him for chunks of the season. The Lions cannot afford another rotational question mark. They need consistent heat on the quarterback, not sporadic bursts. Yet, with Zadarius Smith's departure leaving a vacuum and Marcus Davenport's medical red flags flashing, the calculus might just demand a splashy swing after all. No one remembers safe bets when legacy is on the line. Meanwhile, across the division, the Minnesota Vikings are already touting their revamped front seven, and the Packers' revamped secondary looks ready to snuff passing lanes with Hare Alexander leading the charge. Detroit's front office knows that if they don't seize this moment, they risk watching perennial playoff hopefuls slip into wild card spots while the Lions stand on the sidelines, kicking off another year in a drought that spans from 1957 to the present. Fans still remember that gut-punch wild card loss to the Seahawks in 14, a painful reminder that talent alone never translates to triumph without the right spark. Could Thibodeau be the match that ignites a defensive renaissance, or will he fizzle under the weight of expectation, leaving Detroit to rue a gamble gone awry? Insider chatter suggests that part of the strategy is visionary. Bring in Thibodeau, not merely for sacks, but for leadership in a young locker room desperate for a face of its own. Imagine him rallying the troops in the weight room, trash-talking offensive linemen in walkthroughs, and mentoring Hassanein on hand techniques, while Hutchinson continues to set the tone with his pass rush tenacity. That synergy could morph Detroit from gritty underachiever to the league's most feared pass-rushing tandem, shattering opponents' game plans before the first offensive play. And picture league-wide reactions, Packers fans chanting, "Not again!" As Rodgers braces for triple teams, Vikings bloggers scrambling to counter with draft-grade analysis, and Bears supporters muttering prayers that Detroit's defense doesn't transform Green Bay's sunlit December games into Arctic battles of attrition. Yet for every thunderous sack that ignites the crowd, there remains the specter of Holmes' master plan. What if he holds firm, resisting the headline chase, banking instead on developing Hassanein into the difference-maker he believes he can be? Could the Lions brass prefer to sweat through another draft cycle rather than sever ties with a young talent they scouted from day one? Fans remain divided. Some rally for instant impact. Others counsel patience, citing Goff's own redemptive arc in L.A. as proof that talent cultivates under proper guidance, not instant splashes. And what of the moral here? Is it better to pull the trigger on a risky trade now or trust the draft and internal development to reshape the franchise from within? As a Lions believer, I feel that tension coil tighter with every passing day. Each practice rep, each meeting behind closed doors, echoes with the weight of history and the roar of hopes unfulfilled. Could Holmes' next move carve a path out of Detroit's decades-long wilderness and to the bright lights of playoff glory? Or will the silence of missed opportunities echo in the empty seats come January? The narrative hangs in suspense, and the city holds its breath for the decision that will define this season, and perhaps the franchise for years to come. So I ask you, fellow faithful, do you trust Holmes to gamble on greatness? Or will you brace for another heartbreak as this deadline draws nearer? The clock is ticking, the lines are drawn, and Detroit's destiny lies in the balance. Are you ready for the thunder to strike?